or computerized observation. This screen is a snapshot of activity on the slot floor. The data gives the casino host the ability to monitor play among valued guests, cheering for the winners and cheering up the losers.
Way to start off. Really up to the host to decide, if somebody's having a bad trip, maybe I just ought to give that guy dinner and let him relax and enjoy it, because Las Vegas, above everything else, is still an entertainment experience. Chuck Cashmore, he swears that's his real name, has been a casino host for 5 years, the last one, the Rio. He's on his feet more than 12 hours a day, walking the floor, working the phones, and checking the computer to see who needs a little care and feeding. Chuck is part concierge, part nanny, and part man about town.
I'm Chuck. Chuck Cashmore. I'm a casino host here. What time do you want to eat? 9? Okay. Is it just the two of you this time? Yeah. Well, keep waiting. If there's anything else you need, you let me know, okay?
All right, another jackpot.
That's all right. All night long we'll get jackpot.
Okay.
All right. Well, I enjoy people. I enjoy servicing people. I'm a people person.
They get to know the players, what the players like, so that ideally a VIP guest here can make a 5-minute phone call to let a host know that they're arriving on Friday night, and that host will take it from there. They'll have show tickets at a sold-out show in the front row.
I think we've got some tickets for Garth for Sunday night.
They'll get into the best restaurants that are sold out.
So do we have a nice window table for these folks?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They'll have the suite that they want with the amenities that they want.
And we'll make sure we get your room for you. We'll get you up on the high floor strip view so everything looks good.
Oh,
all right.
They'll be able to do whatever they want in that one phone call.
So what'd you guys do today?
A host can bring in millions of dollars of business to a casino, turning strangers into friends and friends into regulars. Unlike most casino employees, they can't accept cash tips. So being a host is more about having fun than making money. However, there are exceptions.
The host can be a very lucrative position.
Yeah.
Over the years, if you're able to keep your guests happy where they like you and they're happy with you, and you build on that and they refer their friends to you, you can almost name your own price. Especially the casinos that are, looking to expand and upgrade their operations. Sure, they'll easily, well into the 6 figures salary for a host.
The host job is a bizarre hybrid. Picture a cross between a member of the Rotary Club and the Rat Pack. The attitude, relentlessly affirmative.
Always do, absolutely. Absolutely, good. All right, absolutely. You betcha. Oh, absolutely.
This program is brought to you in part by the Honda Accord. It's more than a car, it's a state of mind.
The Accord from Honda. How will it affect you?
Are you with us, Jim?
I feel pretty, oh so pretty.
Through this door
I feel pretty,
is the power to make the internet come to life. Introducing the Pentium 3 processor. Don't just get onto the internet, get into it. Find out how at Intel.com.
AT&T 00 Info, how can I help you?
I need the phone number of Petey's Dog Grooming. Or is it Punky's? I'm not exactly sure the name.
Now you can get information even if you don't have all the information. AT&T customers, dial 00. You don't need the exact name.
Found it. Pinky's Dog Grooming.
Dial 00 for any number, anywhere. We'll even connect you to your number for free.
Oh, oh, it's magic, you know.
I hate grapes. Green and purple and seedless. Sure, they taste great, but on a supermarket floor, they can make for nasty slips and falls. Hi, I'm Al Mangoni, a safety specialist with Liberty Mutual Insurance. There's no reason the supermarket floor should ever be a dangerous place. So we're working on non-slip flooring and other materials to keep you safe.
At Liberty Mutual, we have hundreds of experts helping you live a safer, more secure life. It's insurance in action.
I also hate bananas.
Got a noisy car? Get our Economizer Plus muffler for only $29.95 and our guarantee. Go safely. Go Midas.
You're watching the Discovery Channel. Explore your world.
Oh, the world is my oyster. In Nepal, I uncovered an ancient temple. Dinner in the Big Apple was magnificent. Or was I watching the Travel Channel?
For heart-stopping adventure, romantic getaways, and insider travel tips, there's only one place to go. Everywhere we do, the Travel Channel. Now from the Discovery Channel.
Break away with the Travel Channel.
All over America, people are discovering a package of important free information concerning hearing loss. Call the toll-free number right now, and you'll receive a valuable video and informative booklet that show you how hearing aids may help you hear better.
I learned a lot of important things about hearing, including ways to help myself. You know, it's sad going through life not hearing what your family's saying, particularly when you might learn how to help yourself with this free 15-minute video.
Call the toll-free number for your free video information kit today.
The new Saturn Coupe has better pickup than a Maserati. After a Little League game, anyway. The world's first three-door coupe from Saturn. Why didn't anyone think of this before?
Your new Saturn is waiting for you at Saturn of the Valley, a member of the Galvin Motors family.
A casino is a service business where even a nickel slot player is given a free drink and a little eye candy in order to build loyalty. But there's a level of accommodation and recognition hardly any visitors ever get to experience. It's a world glimpsed by a few very special players. The price of admission, $1 million line of credit. The special treatment starts in a luxury suite that can only be comped, not rented. Every hotel room at the Rio is a suite, but some are a little nicer than others. How about 7,000 square feet of nice?
We want to ensure that they have plenty of space to be comfortable in.
They also want to be sure that top players can brush their teeth at a gold-plated faucet, or lounge around in a living room the size of most people's apartments, or play Keno on a TV that rises from the floor at the touch of a button. If that's not enough elegance, the Rio is more than happy to provide a few little extras.
We actually had a host here who wanted to impress one of his guests and be sure that we could do something special. We sent one of our representatives out to an auction, and we had him purchase some Elvis cufflinks. Elvis had worn them when he married Priscilla, and that was the gift that we presented to our high-end guest. The cost was approximately $8,000.
Ironically, all this extravagance is lavished on the high roller who spends very little time in the suite. But that's just fine with the hotel, who wants him out at the table where the house at least has a shot of earning a few dollars back. The Salon is an exclusive enclave set apart from the rest of the Rio, where ultra-high stakes are the rule. In the secluded back room, only two games are played, Baccarat and Roulette, two favorites of the money-is-no-object crowd who can place their bets with $100,000 chips.
It's really none of anybody's business what they're doing back here. That's for us and us only. We don't let anybody know what players are back here. When we go into the cafeteria to eat, we still don't talk about it.
Restrained might be the best word to describe the salon, particularly the small regiment of private butlers who anticipate the needs of their guests, whether in the gaming area or in the suites. And you know they must have tales to tell.
I like to think I've seen it all, but I'm constantly surprised. Everything does go on from A to Z. We have to practice discretion.
Is it professional duty or big tips that inspire their silence?
I can tell you this, there's a reason some people became rich, and it's because they didn't give their money away. I've had players that are in the hundreds of thousands of dollars range, and they're hiding in the bathroom telling you just leave it on the table because they don't want to give you a tip.
Casinos are becoming more than ever a business of relationships. To some, the reward is a free baseball cap. To others, a ride on a Learjet and a night in a palace. Only in the world of gaming are losers still treated like winners and sent home with the hope of maybe next time.
You know, when I go to Disney World, I expect to spend $5,000 down there. I have no shot at getting that back. You know, you can come to Las Vegas and you're going to risk $5,000. We'll give you your hotel room and your meals and show tickets and things like that. You may go home with the 5, 25, 50, 100, and it happens all the time.
The casino at the Rio is huge, a 100,000 square foot adult playpen. It's easy to forget that in the middle of all this color, light, and noise, a business is being run. Over $1 billion in cash and chips passed through the hands of 6,760,000 visitors in 1997. In that 1 year, this hotel casino made as much profit as a Fortune 500 company. As the value of Vegas's fortunes has grown, so has the technology designed to help keep an eye on it. Not a square inch escapes scrutiny.
Well, we have a wide variety of equipment. We have used a lot of fixed cameras to watch particular gaming areas that is constantly being recorded. We have pan and tilts that we can pan, tilt, zoom, and look all over the casino.
More than 1,000 cameras are focused on the Rio's casino floor. They are hidden behind smoked plastic bubbles, partly for aesthetics, but also so any camera movement is undetected. Most guests don't even know they're up there. These eyes in the sky never blink, capturing every gaming and cash transaction, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
Some of the cameras are very high-tech. Some of them have a 48 to 96 zoom. You can see a long ways. The detail is quite extraordinary.
Each camera is connected to a sort of surveillance mission control in a secret location far from the action. There, specially trained technicians who've been taught to deal, play, and cheat all the games monitor a bank of 60 screens, switching between images every few seconds. If something is JDLR, that's casino speak for just don't look right, a touch of the joystick gets surveillance up close and personal with the fishy business. This vast bluish patchwork quilt tells the secret story of the Rio minute by minute. But it's a complicated picture to interpret nonstop, so a room full of VCRs grinds away silently, taping each moment in case a second look is needed.
I have two people that do nothing but clean VCRs, change tapes, and keep the maintenance and inventory of all the tape and VCR archive.
The tales on these 8-hour tapes resolve disputes and solve crimes, preserving the chain of evidence crucial to prosecution. The Rio has never lost a case. Just what are they looking for up there? The kind of things you'd expect to happen any place millions of dollars are openly flashed. Thieves who snatch cups full of money. Lowlifes who swipe pocketbooks or chips. The casino employee on the take, or the bet that turns into a brawl.
I've seen everything you can think of. I've seen people bin cards, rip cards, tear cards apart. I've seen people, throw things in the casino. I've seen people rip clothes off each other. You name it, I've seen it.
But identifying the cheats has become a bigger part of the job, as internet websites offering so-called surefire ways to beat the house have taught a new generation of hustlers and card sharps the tricks of the trade. Private investigators like Andy Anderson help the Rio's in-house surveillance keep a step ahead of the crooks.
Well, basically, if they don't have protection, someone would come in and take the edge away from the casinos. Because everybody thinks Vegas has a lot of money, which they do. But by the same token, they have to protect what they've got.
So surveillance is on the lookout for little red flags, tics, and behaviors that signal trouble.
Most people do a lot of head bobbing, is what we call it, where they're always looking to see who's looking at them. And if they're making these weird movements, it's a big telltale sign that they're up to something unusual. And so then we take a look at it to see what they do, to see if they are, in fact, doing something strange.
Cheaters are busted by in-house security and handed over to the cops. Mugshots are stored on CD-ROM, which private eyes at Griffin Investigations keep at their fingertips.
You've got a 21 count, 21 cheat, dice cheat, roulette cheat, slot cheat, miscellaneous cheat. You go down to the name, say Francisco, for example, you bring him up, then you can zoom up his photograph.
If a casino suspects a crook at one of their tables, they transmit the person's video image via modem to the computers at Griffin Investigations. Their sophisticated software enables the suspect's image to be compared to pictures of known criminals.
And then we can now perform a facial recognition search using this picture. So you have 28 white female cheats on the database, and it's going to sort all 28 based on who looks most like this person.
It's a 21st century response to a problem as old as Vegas itself.
Remember, I'm from the old school. When I started out with a notebook, a pencil, and a bag of quarters. And every time we had a bad guy, we had to run to a public phone, call up, run the name, run out to my car, look at a mug book, run back inside. Yeah, I notice how he's got the card spread. He's definitely making a move. Yeah, there you go. Right. Now, get on your cell phone, flip open your laptop, and you're there. If you hold a second, I'll give you a rundown on this guy.
Nobody will say exactly how many more crooks are nailed each year because of high-tech video observation, but the overseers are very explicit. Cheating is one gamble that will never pay off.
Can cheaters come in and cheat the Rio? They may try. We feel that our dealers and our floor help and our surveillance people are so highly trained that it would be somewhat foolhardy.
I don't care if it's 10 cents or $10,000 or what it is. If we have an opportunity to prosecute somebody for theft from our hotel, we will.
If you come to Las Vegas to cheat, we will get you. I guarantee you, we will catch you sooner or later. And if we do, we will make it miserable the next time you return to our city. We do not need your business. If you want to cheat, go somewhere else.
The 99 10th Anniversary Mitsubishi Eclipse, a value package savings of $1,000. Now available with 0.9% APR financing for 48 months.
I feel pretty, oh so pretty.
Through this door
I feel pretty
is the power to make the internet come to life. Introducing the Pentium 3 processor. Don't just get onto the internet, get into it. Find out how at Intel.com.
Wow. Even the donut holes cost over $1.
Honey, nothing good costs under $1 nowadays.
How about a 20-minute call to anywhere in America?
That's crazy.
He's right. Dial 10-10-220 and all calls up to 20 minutes are only 99 cents. And just 10 cents a minute after that, man.
Is it really that cheap?
Oh, yeah. Try it. You'll see.
Sure, cutie. Why not?
Step away from the pastry. What? That's the last declare, sir.
Oh.
Dial 10-10-220.
On
open decks and off romantic private balconies, there lives a beautiful princess. Day and night she tempts you with 24-hour dining, non-stop entertainment, and moments you will treasure. Freedom to do what you want, when you want. This is Grand Class Cruising, only from Princess. For your free Grand Class planning kit, call 1-800-PRINCESS.
Is it possible to believe the emotion you see? Is it any different from your own? You've known it all along. Animals have feelings. Now we have proof. Scientists trace the biology of emotion and explain why they're more human than you ever imagined. Why dogs smile and chimpanzees cry. Tonight at 8 Eastern and Pacific on the Discovery Channel.
The Rio has 2,375 slot machines. They all look different, with varied ways to signal that you've struck it rich. The Nevada Gaming Commission, not the casino, regulates the rules and minimum payouts of slots and video poker, permitting only slight cosmetic changes to the face of the machines. But players love the old one-armed bandits and are loyal to their favorites.
Each roll is a challenge that you might win. And if you don't win on that one, you might win on the next one.
I'll probably spend around $40 a day. That's my allotment. That's my good time. And if I win, then I've got money to play with.
The biggest jackpot I hit, $73,363. And now that's exciting. That's exciting.
To date this year, we have paid out close to $1 billion in coin and jackpots and prizes to our customers.
Slots may lack the strategy or glamour image of the table games. Who'd take James Bond seriously if he played Hog Wild instead of Baccarat? But electronic games are a growing part of the product mix on the casino floor because even with a lower average bet, they make more money for the house. Because a table game is run by people versus the electronics of the slots, games like craps and roulette have higher overhead. In fact, it costs a casino 70 cents to earn $1 on a table, 25 cents to earn $1 on a slot.
It's also a much less intimidating game for newer gamblers. They're much more comfortable playing at their own pace. They also offer a lot bigger bang for the buck. There's no table game that's going to pay you back 1,000 times your bet or 10,000 times your bet the way slot machines will.
They're an entertainment device. We want people to come and have a good time, to enjoy themselves. That's what they're here for. And if you're lucky that day, you're taking home the jackpot.
A computer chip installed by the manufacturer is programmed with the information that determines how many plays happen between jackpots. Casinos, by law, don't have access to this information, so their guess is no better than yours.
There's no real hint I can give anybody to make you tell whether a machine is going to pay or not. Everybody has their own, excuse the term, religion about it, what they believe. A lot of people think because they start seeing sevens in the windows that it's getting ready to hit. I've seen that a lot of times, and it doesn't hit for days. It's a random chance game. There is no skill. It's your personal luck. Walk up at the right machine at the right time.
Walk onto the floor of a casino and you are surrounded by money, in coins, in chips, in crisp folding green. It's like the Federal Reserve Bank, if the Fed had chaser lights and neon. Contrary to the myth, the money is not washed every night, just sorted and counted. We decided to trace the path of a few $100 bills to follow the journey all money makes as it moves through the pockets of the players through the Rio's counting system. We temporarily identified 6 $100 bills with red and black letters. Each table has a metal ID-numbered lockbox fixed to the underside that collects all the money pushed in by the paddle when cash is exchanged for chips. Once a night, in a highly regimented ritual known as the drop, armed security guards descend on the casino floor to collect the money under the watchful eyes of the Nevada Gaming Commission, who get 8% of the take. First, empty cash boxes are unloaded from the trolley. The guards then exchange these with full boxes at the table. Once the trolley is full, it is then escorted a short distance to a secret room where the money will be inventoried and then held until morning.
Those rooms are secured. There's 2 man traps that you have to go through. And once you get inside the room, you're physically looked over on surveillance by the cameras and stuff, and you're physically watched the entire time.
This is soft count, called that because they deal in paper and chips instead of coins. The 8 employees who work here are responsible for opening the table boxes and preparing the loot inside to be sorted and counted.
Just like paper, it's not like money at all.
It doesn't take long for our marked money to start turning up. Security cameras saturate every square inch with surveillance. There is more camera coverage in this room than at any other location at the Rio. The work tables are glass-topped, so nothing occurs out of sight. It looks pretty chaotic, and the floor is a mess.
We're not allowed trash cans in here in case somebody would accidentally fall in or get thrown in. So we don't do any trash cans. We just throw everything on the floor. That way, if a piece of money gets on the floor, you can see it, which does happen occasionally.
Especially when our camera crew knocks over a rack of chips. When a $1 chip is discovered to be missing, the soft count staff immediately scours the floor in search of it. It may seem insignificant, but the crew has to account for every dollar brought into the room.
Once in a while we don't balance and we have to look for something, you know, we're off a little bit, but, you know, the ultimate end is we do balance. I mean, no matter how long it takes.
The stacks are loaded into a machine that scans the bills, then sorts them by denomination. Any difference in color, texture, or dimension is recognized electronically. Irregular bills, ones that are taped or torn or marked, will get kicked back for a manual inspection.
Hey, Marty. Hey, this is a, it's counterfeit. I don't know.
A suspect bill is tested for authenticity by marking it with a special pen.
Wow, that's a good counterfeit. Yeah, because this pin here, will, on a bad counterfeit, will turn black. This mark will turn black, and it didn't turn any color.
Big 6.
So I would assume it's good. But there's an actual strip inside here. If you were to rip this bill, you could pull the strip out. This one we've ripped, and there is no strip in there, but it looks like there's a strip in there. So it's very good counterfeit bill.
The money that passes muster is loaded into the high-speed counting machine. Stacks are bundled into $10,000 piles, wrapped by hand, initialed, and loaded into trays. On a busy day, between $2 and $3 million are processed during a 10-hour shift. 5% of the cash will be sent to the Rio's banks, and the rest will be recycled, returned to the cage to be given as payouts. Because our bills were marked, they were removed from the system, but the ordinary 100 can make the round trip from table to drop to soft count to casino cage in less than 24 hours. Perhaps the biggest back-of-the-house secret is this. What goes on in a small, anonymous, fluorescent-lit room is the real reason all of the rest of it exists.
This program is brought to you in part by Hot Pockets, a new crispy, crusty, tender, flaky crust.
In real life, there's barely enough time to shop, let alone cook. Hot Pockets may not be a fancy meal, but it's real food with real ingredients. Real cheddar cheese, real roast beef, and real vegetables.
Real food for a busy life.
Hot Pockets!
The 54-inch, 25-horsepower riding mower from Scott's. It's got a fully welded steel unibody frame. Plus, a solid cast iron front axle, a remarkable turning radius, and all the power you'll ever need. You'll wish you had a bigger yard. Scott's Mowers, available at the Home Depot.
I feel pretty, oh so pretty.
Through this door
I feel pretty
is the power to make the internet come to life. Introducing the Pentium 3 processor. Don't just get onto the internet, get into it. Find out how at Intel.com.
AT&T Double O Info, how can I help you? I need a phone number. The mystery bookstore outside Chicago. I don't have a clue which town.
Now you can get information even if you don't have all the information. AT&T customers, dial 00. You don't need the exact location.
Found it. Great detective work.
Dial 00 for any number, anywhere. We'll even connect you to your number for free.
Oh, it's magic, you know.
Every weeknight, you're going on the inside, and nobody takes you there like the Discovery Channel. Tomorrow,
people would just stand on 34th Street and gaze up at what was going on.
you know what makes it great.
This was the building that everybody wanted to go to the top.
Now find out about the people who built it and why it continues to captivate our imaginations. Reach for the top and go on the inside of the Empire State Building. Tomorrow at 8 Eastern and Pacific on the Discovery Channel. Explore your world.
Next on TNH.
I get offended when they use that term pre-owned for used cars.
Heck, I read divorce 3 times. Ain't nobody ever called these pre-owned.
And the term pre-owned for used cars must have come from Toyota of North Hollywood.
Toyota of North Hollywood is the #1 Toyota dealer in LA. Used cars starting at only $39.98.
So come see hundreds of pre-owned cars at Toyota of North Hollywood.
Started looking forward to the drive home.
The most common side effects were headache, viral infection, sore throat, nosebleeds, and coughing. Find out more. Call 1-800-506-9500 for information and a free trial coupon. Talk to your doctor about the preventative power of Nasonex.
Since the beginning, casinos have understood that folks can't sit at a table all night long. There has to be a little diversion to take players' minds off the game, if only for a few moments. Vegas didn't invent showbiz, just dressed it up in a million sequins and gave it a glittery home. The Rio follows the time-honored tradition of something for everyone. Big, bright, and sometimes a little bawdy. And a lavish floor show that never touches the floor.
The first time I saw a show in Las Vegas was a glittering fantasy of dance and entertainment and live music, and you know, I was just awestruck. I got the bug.
That moment of inspiration has led to this, a $25 million production performed 30 feet above the casino floor.
Can't believe this, can you, Dawson? I think the whole concept of attracting people to a gaming area was part of the idea, and then, well, you know, why don't we do the show in the gaming area? A lot of controversy over, is that going to take away from the gaming or add to the gaming?
It was a risk, but Vegas is full of folks willing to gamble on a bet. The show in the sky is the world's most lavish 15-minute musical. The pageantry celebrates Mardi Gras around the world on an overhead stage the size of a football field. It goes on 6 times a day, 6 days a week, and it's all free for anyone who can look up long enough.
Some people play the machines and don't even know there's a show going on. I don't take that as an insult because they happen to be very happy doing what they're doing. And the people that want to stop and watch the show, they're like, hey, isn't this great? It's a free show. We're having a lot of fun.
The entire production is triggered by computers, which are fed information from a data strip embedded in the casino ceiling track. That strip cues a pre-recorded soundtrack and lights to the movement of the floats and live performers who add their own voices and instruments. But you don't have to be a professional to participate in the show in the sky. For $10, stage-struck civilians can join the carnival, get a backstage peek at how it all comes together, and ride in the show.
Nope, other way, front ways.
There is wardrobe to deal with.
There you go.
Are you ready for this? Sure. This is the fun part.
2 minutes!
And choreography to learn.
You know, you make me want to shout, and then you all go, shout, shout.
They told us to play the tambourines as loud as we want. So we've got a little tambourine action going.
People come here and they don't know what to expect, and I think that when they see what we show them, they have a big smile on their face, they're happy, and they leave here feeling really elevated. And when I see that, I know that we've done our job. It makes me happy.
Can you top this spectacular? Like the show in the sky may be what the new Las Vegas is all about. But in the Rio main showroom, Danny Gans stands apart as classic old-school Vegas. He's been slaying them at the Rio since 1996 in a show with only one special effect, his gift for mimicry.
I'm feeling good. I thought I was going to be the next Babe Ruth. That's what I wanted. I was going to be the home run king, and God had other plans for me, and I played professional baseball. I got injured, and I got into show business, and I was just up to that time the fun guy in the bus who did all these crazy voices.
From Michael Jackson to Willie Nelson, Sammy Davis Jr. to Elvis, Danny Gans gets to play at being some of Vegas's biggest names. But at the Rio, the biggest name is Danny Gans.
I'm on every billboard, on every cab. I'm on a $5 chip. I never expected this success. I just hoped that I wouldn't have to do a real job and really work hard like everybody else does in this world to get ahead. All right, here we go.
Galib Galab. That's the moniker of the blues man from Chicago who presides over the three-ring circus, better known as the Voodoo Lounge.
I love it. I love it. When I first came to Vegas, I said I came here to bring something to the party and to join this. I wanted to be a part of this community. I wanted to get in and have fun.
Hope you're feeling good tonight. If you're feeling good, let me hear you say, oh! Oh, y'all not ready yet.
Most lounges nestle alongside the casino games, a quick pit stop on the way back to the action. The Voodoo is confidently perched 51 stories above the casino. The electric splendor of the Strip is spread out below Vegas's only rooftop patio. The panorama is magnificent.
To every entertainer, I can't think of one in the world who would not in their lifetime love to work Vegas. It was a dream. My mother told me I'm following her footsteps. She sang and danced professionally. Yeah, I've always been around it. It's something I've always loved, and here I am.
If the Voodoo Lounge is an intimate house party, Club Rio is a vast arena of boogie. Each night at 10:30, this gigantic space is converted from Danny Gans' showroom to Vegas's biggest dance party. All hosted by Dr. Funkenstein.
How you doing, baby? I'm giving away money. Give me a big house beat, go ahead. What y'all think of that? $50.
It's the kind of crazy party you thought was buried by Vegas's reincarnation as a family destination. But it's just like the Rio, a little hip, a little out there, and a lot of fun.
1999 Mazda Miata. Set it free, and it'll return the favor.
Are you ready, boys? Ready?
Some things we may never understand. Some things we should. At ReliaStar, we help you understand the complex world of investments and insurance so you can make the right financial choices. ReliaStar.
Pardon me, lady?
Can you believe the price of popcorn?
It's a crime against humanity.
Everything costs an arm and a leg.
Not everything. You can get all your long-distance calls for under $1.
He's talking about 10, 10, 220. Dial it and talk up to 20 minutes for only 99 cents.
Very wise for his age.
Talk over 20 minutes, then what?
Yeah, and then what?
It's just 10 cents for each extra minute.
That's cheap. How is it possible? How does popcorn pop? Who cares?
Yeah, just dial 10, 10, 220 and talk up to 20 minutes for only 99 cents.
Fall back, Sarge. You're moistening my ear.
I feel pretty, oh so pretty.
Through this door
I feel pretty
is the power to make the internet come to life. Introducing the Pentium 3 processor. Don't just get onto the internet, get into it. Find out how at Intel.com.
Is it possible to believe the emotion you see? Is it any different from your own? You've known it all along. Animals have feelings. Now we have proof. Scientists trace the biology of emotion and explain why they're more human than you ever imagined. Why dogs smile and chimpanzees cry. Tonight at 8 Eastern and Pacific on the Discovery Channel. Every weeknight, you're going on the inside, and nobody takes you there like the Discovery Channel. Tomorrow,
people would just stand on 34th Street and gaze up at what was going on.
you know what makes it great.
This was the building that everybody wanted to go to the top.
Now find out about the people who built it and why it continues to captivate our imaginations. Reach for the top and go on the inside of the Empire State Building. Tomorrow at 8 Eastern and Pacific on the Discovery Channel. Explore your world.
People may come to Las Vegas for that catalog of experiences collectively labeled entertainment. Still, the Rio knows the quickest route to the heart and wallet is through the stomach. The 2,300 food and beverage personnel make up almost half of the Rio's entire workforce.
It's a big operation. I think it's the largest food and beverage operation in Las Vegas, maybe the country. About 150 semi-trucks of food and beverage are offloaded at our loading dock every day in a 24-hour period.
We cut approximately 60,000 pounds of meat a day in this butcher shop. Country-style pork ribs, hot roast. Then over here we have our tenderloins. We go through approximately 800 pounds of tenderloins a day. Veal chops, these are 12-ounce rib chops. And then over here we have our hamburgers.
This is the main kitchen. This is where most of the production gets done. We have different kettles and different steamers and different braziers that we do a lot of our sauces in. As you can see, we got Chris right here working on teriyaki sauce. When you talk about hash browns and those kind of things, I would say on a weekly basis, we're approximately going through almost 7,000 pounds. It's a lot of potatoes.
We're producing about 32 different types of breads for all the restaurants here. We produce about 5,000 to 8,000 different cakes every day. We're feeding about 25,000 to 27,000 people every day.
Every forkful of food consumed at the Rio is made from scratch in a round-the-clock orgy of baking, chopping, and sautéing. Since Las Vegas is a desert, virtually everything must be trucked or flown in. The shipping bill alone must be astronomical. There are 15 restaurants in the casino and 22 bars. But no eatery in the Rio, or maybe in the universe, compares with the Carnival World Buffet.
All kind of food that you can think of anywhere around the world you are, you can get it here. From the American, the Italian, the Chinese, the Japanese, the Mongolian, the barbecue station, the sushi, the fish and chip station, our Six Dish Diner.
Carnival Buffet has become a mecca for folks who are hungry for more than gambling. 11 international buffet stations offer 700 different choices, luring 10,000 daily customers with an urge to overindulge.
Everybody's been saying that the Rio is the buffet to go to. So I just went into every single line and I just said I have to have, you know, everything. There's some stuff over there that I can't even pronounce it, and I ate it and it was great.
We got shrimp, we got lamb, we got chicken, we got pork, apples, oranges, melon, cantaloupes, you name it.
It's amazing if you stood back and watched somebody, how they act when they enter the buffet. They stop and they look back and they grab a plate and they don't know where to go first. And what ends up happening is they think someone's going to take it all away from them. So they have these huge plate stacking competitions, in essence, to make sure that they don't miss out anywhere.
The Carnival World Buffet represents what America is all about. It is everything from everywhere put together and give back to the public.
I got another hour to go of getting some stuff. So like I said, I'm ready for the shrimp egg foo young, which is, I'm looking at that really. I'm really looking for that.
Ironically, there's a culinary yang to all this yin. A genuine 5-star restaurant in a city famous for its meat and potatoes mentality.
Las Vegas is a tough city to be because nobody until now want to eat fancy food. I try to be good.
Chef Jean-Louis Paladin has cultivated the high-end diner at the Rio with Napa, an elegant counterpoint to the all-you-can-eat exuberance of the Carnival World Buffet. With the try it, you'll like it evangelism of a true believer, Paladin has earned Napa the reputation as the finest and most eclectic restaurant in Las Vegas. And at $100 a head, it better be.
What I'm doing now, little bit maybe scary for the people because I'm doing Baby Hill in Las Vegas. You do a frog leg in Las Vegas. We do so many things they never see in Las Vegas.
And they've seen everything in Vegas. From room service requests for rooster feet.
If it's found anywhere in God's green earth, we will get it here. Okay, just give us a 24-hour period.
To exotic ice sculpture centerpieces.
I've had a couple that just got married that wanted something that was abstract of two people, and I accommodated them best I could without getting too graphic.
The Rio understands that an army of visitors marches on its stomach. Like a grandma using food as a way of showing love, they use abundance to remind guests that they're always welcome, and there's always a place at any of their tables. As we have seen, a modern casino redefines the word abundance. And every person who works there knows that the living, breathing machine that is the casino must be fed, and fed, and fed. Every day, it takes 125,000 man-hours. Some of it glamorous, a lot of it grunt work. Enough electricity to power a small city. A convoy of food trucks 3 miles long. All this and more is just part of what it takes to operate the mammoth machine known as the casino.
Next, inside the strange rituals behind Egyptian animal gods on Mummified. And get all of your science facts and findings from the source for science and technology. Log on to Discovery.com every day. inside the emotional lives of domestic and wild animals as we seek ways to understand how they communicate and why they're so complex. Scientists look deep into these rarely exposed areas on Why Dogs Smile and Chimpanzees Cry tonight.
I'm Brendan Frasier, treasure hunting legionnaire from Universal's new film, The Mummy. In the film, I come face to face with mummies, their curses, and other unknown wonders of ancient Egypt. Now it's your turn. Prepare to be mummified.
An extraordinary adventure.
I think you found something.
An ancient mystery.
I call it the doorway to hell.
And a quest for immortality.
Oh my God, it does exist.
The Mummy, a new film from Universal Pictures, raises the specter of the undead. But how much of the legend is true? Over the next 3 hours, the Discovery Channel will unravel fact from fiction, search for clues to the afterlife, and examine the origins of the infamous mummy's curse. Plus, we'll unearth the secrets of Hollywood's latest action-adventure epic. On location and behind the scenes, get an exclusive sneak preview of The Mummy.
You have unleashed the creature that we have feared for more than 3,000 years. Is the bringer of death. He will never stop.
The adventure starts right now. Prepare to be mummified.
See what we can do. Yes.
Obviously, we don't want to disturb the bandages.
For 200 years, scientists have attempted to uncover the mysteries concealed in mummies. Today, postmortems of corpses many thousands of years old are adding to our knowledge of the past. Only now, thanks to modern technology, are they extracting fresh evidence. But this silent witness is not what it seems. It's a cat. It's one of millions of animals preserved by ancient Egyptians to be revered or to be entombed beneath the shifting sands as food or as pets for company in the next life. Animal mummies even had their own cemeteries. Today, scientists are probing for the secrets of their lost world. For 3,500 years, the ancient Egyptians took increasingly elaborate measures to prepare for eternal life. To enable the transition to go without a hitch, they employed highly evolved techniques of mummification. To live again, their spirits needed their own body, flesh, and bone, in as complete a state as possible. For pharaohs, the launch pad to immortality was the burial chamber, sealed inside Great Pyramids. These enigmatic structures have lured archaeologists in search of knowledge and treasure. What they find isn't always what they expect. In the 1960s, an expedition to find the tomb of Imhotep, who designed the step pyramid at Saqqara, unearthed something far stranger beneath the nearby desert. An unknown world, a city of the dead, devoted to animals. Find upon find was disinterred, including potsherds, broken pottery covered in writing. The numbers almost overwhelmed British archaeologist John Ray.
It was all happening quicker than we could really cope with it. Every single day, we would go down to the site, and back would come perhaps 100 bronze statues. Documents would appear quicker than we could catalogue them. On one day, I remember coming in with about 40 different documents written on potsherds. Overall, we found maybe 1,000.
The texts were the key to catacombs, deep underground cemeteries that concealed animal mummies.
It seems to have been a kind of mummified zoo. Baboons buried in elaborate niches in their dozens. Birds are buried in huge catacombs, in pottery jars. There they are in their hundreds.
After 30 years deciphering the texts, John Ray has come to a startling conclusion about Saqqara.
Here you have a world which seems to have no explanation whatsoever. A lot of dead animals buried under the ground. Then you start to look at the texts and you start to realize the ideas that lay behind it. The animals are a kind of communication with the world of the gods.
That animals were links with the gods, or were gods themselves, was not difficult for the Egyptians to believe. They had a close relationship with nature. Birds and beasts were not their inferiors in creation, but equals. They could not imagine life without them. So they preserved them too. They embalmed them carefully in intricate wrappings, expecting to see them again. They did this for 4 different reasons. The first was purely practical. On their way to the underworld, the reanimated humans would need to eat. Animals were part of the food taken to the next life. Secondly, the ancient Egyptians did not want to be lonely. This dog seems to sleep eternally curled up, awaiting the sound of his master's voice. Other species were also kept for entertainment. They were lovingly dried out and swathed in ceremonial bindings. In the next world, there was to be time for fun and monkey business as well. Thirdly, a very few animals were mummified because they were themselves gods. These divine beasts lived and died like pharaohs. The fourth and most numerous group were the many millions of consecrated animals buried in special cemeteries like Saqqara. Their role was to carry messages to the gods. Just as modern pilgrims light a votive candle, so the ancient Egyptians offered an animal mummy to speed their prayers to the deities. The awesome scale of animal mummification first became apparent in the 19th century. Millions and millions of mummies emerged from the catacombs. The consecrated cats were destroyed or thrown away, but 300,000 were shipped, 19 tons at a time, to Liverpool, England. There they burned as fuel for the new railways of Europe, or fertilized the fields. Even though it's scientifically impossible, they were accused of bringing the mummy's curse, cholera, and death. Until recently, researchers concentrated on human mummies, but the numbers were limited and the methods used to investigate them crude and destructive. The vast numbers of animals now available and the advent of new techniques together offer fresh insights.
Well, this one is a little bit easier to get inside,
Yes.
with the head missing.
Well, the heads, this is why it's...
Modern instruments mean less damage. Endoscopy, the use of a fiber optic tube, allows them to see right inside this cat.
So they would live in the hut.
At Manchester University, specialist Ken Wildsmith and pathologist Dr. Edmund Tapp work with Egyptologist Dr. Rosalie David to investigate how the ancient Egyptians mummified animals.
One of the problems with mummies, of course, is that the tissue is rigid because of the mummification process. The examinations we're doing are just beginning, the endoscopy on the animals, but one of the things it will eventually show is in fact what form of mummification was used. I imagine eventually there will be a range of techniques that show up in the animals, as indeed we have with the humans.
In the land we now know as Egypt, the close connection between people and animals goes back more than 7,000 years. This human-animal bond is one of the best documented in history. The ancestors of the ancient Egyptians honored the creatures on which they depended, in life and in death. Shallow graves dating back to at least 5,000 BC shelter natural mummies. The hot sand dried out the bodies. Bacteria could not breed. Decay did not occur. Close at hand lie cattle, buried with offerings, both preserved forever by the sterile sands. The very word desert comes from Dejret, meaning the Red Land, a place of death and terror, dotted with oases. By the time of the pharaohs 5,000 years ago, Egypt had become the kingdom of the two lands. Dejret surrounded Kemet, the Black Land, named after the fertile soil left by the Nile in flood. Fish of all shapes and sizes swam in its waters. Ducks, geese, and birds, now long gone, filled the skies and the riverbanks. They provided sport and sustenance for pharaoh and peasant alike. As time passed, the ancient Egyptians bent nature to their will. They grew adept at domesticating wild animals. Vital to their survival were cattle. Farmers took great care to look after their animals. They learned and recorded some of the earliest veterinary cures. Around them, the world teemed with wildlife. Along the Nile, hippos thundered and threatened. Crocodiles lurked, lazy, but deadly. The wilderness was filled with lions and hyenas. These the ancient Egyptians trapped to train as hunting dogs. So confident were they of their skills with animals. Though they failed, they trapped them forever as mummies. Their spirits were as eternal as humans.
In The Mummy, there are plenty of characters with distinguishing looks. But what distinguishing look did ancient Egyptian cat owners ceremoniously adopt? The answer when Mummified continues.
Mummified is sponsored in part by The Mummy. On May 7th, the sands will rise, the heavens will part, and the power will be unleashed. A universal release rated PG-13.
He's here.
This man was buried alive.
His powers are growing. Oh my God, it does exist.
This just keeps getting better and better.
The Mummy, rated PG-13. Now playing.
Circuit City's 50th anniversary sale is going on now. You'll get a free $50 gift card when you buy any 32-inch or larger TV, any camcorder $549 and up, and more. Like this Panasonic compact VHS camcorder with LCD screen and electronic image stabilization, now just $599.99. Or get a free $100 gift card with any camcorder $999 and up. Don't miss the savings at Circuit City's 50th anniversary sale, going on now.
AT&T 00 Info, how can I help you?
Yes, I'd like the phone number of the Blue Lagoon Resort. I don't know the area code. Do I need to call Florida Information?
Now all you need is one number to get any local or long-distance number. AT&T customers, dial 00. you never need the area code.
Got it. I'm there.
Dial 00 for any number, anywhere. We'll even connect you to your number for free.
Oh, oh, it's magic, you know.
The touch, the feel of cotton, the fabric of our lives.
The best selection of motorcycle parts.
Hidden potential. It can change the look and shape of every line and curve on your body. Because it's the weight, the challenge, and the secret behind one of the most effective fitness machines in the world. Introducing the Bowflex Power Pro. Bowflex uses patented power rod resistance to give you an incredibly smooth, natural feel for over 60 different health club quality exercises. With features like a built-in aerobic
as a sign of respect to the deceased animal's spirit. Now, back to Mummified.
Animals with souls could represent gods. Khnum, one of the creator gods, took the form of a ram. Horus, god of the heavens, embodiment of kingship, was the sharp-eyed hawk. And Hathor, lady of the sky and divine mother of the pharaoh, appeared as a life-giving cow. In some places, representations of the gods were to be found in great temples. Others hid in remote shrines. A few appeared in real life.
From the very beginning of Egyptian history, you got certain animals who were clearly sacred and who were thought to be part of the world of the gods living on Earth.
The greatest animal god living on Earth was a bull, conceived by a virgin cow in a lightning storm. In real life, each Apis bull lived in luxury at Memphis, the former capital. There they were worshipped as gods. Each new Apis was chosen because his hide bore marks like the falcon wings of Horus. When he died of old age, he was entombed with all the pomp and splendor befitting a king. Humans were mummified frequently, but because Apis bulls lived for as much as 28 years, the procedures had to be written down on this very papyrus. No other first-hand account of mummification has ever been found. This is the only existing description of the embalming of a pharaoh that just happened to be an animal.
The Apis papyrus is a complete record of how to mummify a dead Apis bull. It describes in immense detail every part of the animal's body, how it has to be treated, how it has to be wrapped up, the magical spells and other incantations that you have to say at that particular point in the ritual. All of it designed to make sure that the dead body of the Apis can reanimate and can go off and join its spirit in the next world.
Reanimation was especially attractive for a people whose lives were short, just 30 years. The next world held great promise, but it was only reached by way of a perilous journey. Books of the dead laid out the route. Magic spells invoked at the right moment protected the spirit on its path. Drawings and paintings give only tantalizing hints of how the bodies were prepared. Until the discovery of the Apis papyrus, our assumptions about mummification derived mainly from one source, a traveler from the 5th century BC. The Greek author Herodotus had heard of 3 different types of embalming, depending on your budget. All involved the use of a salt called natron, which comes from a single dry valley in Egypt. In the 1970s, scientists at Manchester University recreated his accounts. They mummified 3 laboratory rats. They injected the first with a solution to dissolve its perishable insides. Then they covered it in natron. They removed the second rat's internal organs, packed it with the desiccating salt, and covered it over. They immersed the third rat in a solution of liquid natron. 40 days later, the time Herodotus relates, they examined them. The first rat was quite well preserved. The one with the internal packing of natron was in excellent shape. The one left in liquid was not destined to be immortal. It was the second method, drying the body inside and out with natron, that was closest to the Apis papyrus. What would an onlooker have seen of all of this 5,000 years ago? Memphis, the former capital of ancient Egypt, home of the Apis, now lies in ruins. Priestly lamentations for the sacred bull have given way to the cries of birds. But there is concrete evidence of the painstaking rituals that once unfolded here. Giant embalming tables. Here, each bull's body lay awaiting its progress to the afterlife. Alabaster bowls stand ready to catch the magic mummifying fluids.
The embalmer must anoint the heart with resinous oil.
Sometimes, priests removed the rot-prone internal organs and dried them with natron.
They must place the purified parts of the entrails in another vessel.
After 40 days, the desiccated corpse was ready for bandaging, which took 16 days.
2 priests of this god must enter the shrine, which is equipped with red linen. So commences the great wrapping of the mysterious face, until they shall entirely have wrapped it up.
Dressed and cleansed, the animal god was ready for the last rite, the opening of the mouth. The overseer of the mystery restored his senses. His final resting place lay deep underground at Saqqara, a vast network of catacombs carved out to form a subterranean palace, fit for a pharaoh or a bull king.
Stay tuned later for an exclusive sneak preview of The Mummy as Mummified continues.
Mummified is sponsored in part by IBM, Lotus, the makers of superhuman software.
I can do anything.
Wow, a new Coach edition. This is going to be some anniversary. He's going to love it.
Introducing the Lexus ES300 Coach Edition with a Coach leather-trimmed interior, CD auto changer, moon roof, OZ wheels, and, conveniently enough, a set of Coach luggage.
Happy anniversary.
Coach luggage, how thoughtful.
Hate to tell you, but we're looking at a negative sales trend coupled with high overhead. Frankly, I'm worried about capital preservation. Let me put it this way. Look, we're just not meeting our goals. Tell you what, give me more eggs, I'll give you more corn. Otherwise, we may have to diversify.
Sometimes it's not just what you say, but how you say it. Kinko's. Express yourself.
There's big news in the shipping business. Now there's a shipper that confirms your packages were received. A shipper that uses digital scanners, lets you check on delivery by phone or internet, and can save you up to 65% over 2-day services. Which one is it? The U.S. Postal Service. Introducing delivery confirmation for priority mail. So, now what's your priority?
Is it possible to believe the emotion you see? Is it any different from your own? You've known it all along. Animals have feelings. Now we have proof. Scientists trace the biology of emotion and explain why they're more human than you ever imagined. Why dogs smile and chimpanzees cry. Tonight at 8 Eastern and Pacific on the Discovery Channel.
Locusts, plagues, hailstorms, fire. When our mummy unleashes a curse, he means it. But does the specter of evil truly follow those who dare trespass in Egypt's hallowed tombs? The truth is stranger than you think.
In the movie The Mummy, an Egyptian high priest betrays his pharaoh and is mummified alive. When he comes back to life 3,000 years later, he brings an ancient curse with him.
If a victim of the Homdai should ever arise, he would bring with him the 10 plagues of Egypt.
According to infectious disease expert Dr. Harvey Rubin, the film's fantastic scenario echoes real life.
The real curse of the mummy is disease.
Even after thousands of years, diseases like smallpox, found on the mummy of Ramses V, could still be viable. Protective clothing and high-tech examination tools reduce the risk to mummy researchers. But Dr. Rubin says the greatest danger comes not from the mummies themselves, but from their tombs.
Tombs are great places for the growth and development of the bugs that cause disease. They're dark, they're moist, they've been stocked with grains and cereals, and they're a tremendous media for the growth of these organisms.
In 1995, Dr. Rubin consulted on the post-mortem of a woman who died after visiting Egypt's most famous royal burial.
She had been infected with Aspergillus niger, which is a fungal infection that had invaded her lungs and eventually killed her. She had been visiting King Tut's tomb, where the walls are covered with Aspergillus niger.
And Aspergillus isn't the only danger.
Just from exposure to the air in tombs, people develop rabies and histoplasmosis. Both are fatal diseases if not treated properly, and both are related to the presence of bats.
Death will come on swift wings to whomsoever opens this chest.
So while Hollywood may exaggerate a little, there's a kernel of truth to all that talk about the mummy's curse. Now, back to Mummified.
Today, no actual Apis mummies are to be seen. Little physical evidence exists to confirm how the bulls were prepared. The riddle would have remained unanswered but for a fortunate find. There was a second divine bull, the Bukis, worshipped in Middle Egypt. In Cairo, Egyptologist Dr. Salima Ikram has studied the techniques used to preserve the Bukis bull.
The whole object is to remove all the innards and the viscera, because those are the things that would putrefy the most. What happened was some kind of oil, probably turpentine-like, or perhaps something very strong with juniper, would have been put into an enema, which is sort of eat away at the innards. When you unplug and unstop the bull, the entrails would be washed out, or you could tease them out, perhaps using sort of very long, thin tools that would help dissolve everything and pull it out.
All this to preserve the bull in all his glory. The Bukis bull was buried at Armant, but there were many other places in Egypt where animal mummies were interred. Cats in the Delta, the Apis bull at Saqqara, sacred ibises at Khamun, and rams at Elephantine. Some of these sites were temples, dedicated to the worship of animal-headed gods. Others were special burial places, often found close to human cemeteries. One place where humans were buried near millions of mummified animals is Tuna el Gebel in Middle Egypt. Tuna was a center of worship of the god Thoth. The god of wisdom and writing often appeared as a baboon. In this twilight world, priests worship the god at unique underground altars. Even today, these house the remains of the special sacred baboons dedicated to Thoth. Many other animals were buried in niches carved into the rock. These niches line the walls of catacombs that stretch for over a mile underground. Alcoves are heaped with pots that contain the remains of at least 30 different kinds of animals. Were all these mummies mere offerings, or did they have a greater role? Time and thieves have taken their toll, destroying valuable evidence. But one Egyptologist, German Dieter Kessler, has spent several years seeking to ascertain the true status of animals in such places.
The Egyptians called it resting place for gods. This means inside we find a lot of different animals, but in states the Egyptians would call deified. These animals are gods. It's a burial place of gods for the Egyptians.
Perhaps the cozy preservation of animals reflected the Egyptians' ideals rather than reality. Controversially, Kessler believes their day-to-day dealings with animals were much harsher than has been admitted. But does his accusation stand up in the face of other major finds? The most studied site remains Saqqara, 15 miles south of Cairo. It was the city of the dead of Memphis, the burial place of the Apis bull, and the sepulcher of millions of mummified animals. The continued deciphering of text from pottery fragments has led to a gentler assessment of the ancient Egyptians' relations with animals. Investigator John Ray explains.
The more you see of Egyptian religion, the more you come to admire it and to respect the way that they regarded the universe. They regarded it as living and everything within it as having a place that the gods looked after and cared for. That includes humans and includes animals right down to the humble bee.
Ongoing research into the animal mummies of Saqqara and their individual function raises its own series of baffling questions. Dr. Barbara Golub-Kirby is putting new analytical methods into practice with unanticipated results.
My specialty is the analysis of animal remains from archaeological contexts. The first galleries that I worked in were the Falcon galleries, which were constructed for the worship of the falcon-headed god known as Horus. And so I assumed or thought that perhaps we would get mainly falcons. But from initial samples, we're also getting quite a lot of ibis remains. We're not always getting complete skeletons. We're often getting parts of skeletons. And we're getting other species. The most prominent thus far are shrews, and they're often packaged in geometric packages.
Were shrews just there as food for birds of prey, or are they proof of a more complex view of animals? The ancient Egyptians wanted even animals that were natural enemies to continue in the afterlife, so balance was preserved. Some species now rare in Egypt have survived as mummies. Amongst the hawks was one much larger than usual.
I can tell quite clearly from the skull measurements that it is a griffin vulture, which apparently in the past was much more common visitor to Egypt than it is now.
Mummies have been found of other creatures that had died out in Egypt before the practice of mass animal mummification began.
There are some animals that must have been imported from further south that were also mummified, and there are certain kinds of monkeys that were probably, you see them being brought in as tribute and offerings from Africa, and these have been mummified, and these tend to be pets or special cases. The baboons that you get here must have been bred, because the sheer volume of baboon that you get in the baboon galleries in Saqqara and places like that could not have been imported from anywhere else, and they had to have been resident in Egypt.
At Tuna, Dieter Kessler has disturbing evidence of the ill treatment of these creatures.
They tried to breed baboons, but they didn't know anything about their upkeeping. So we assumed that they were kept in darkened rooms, they were kept in captivity, they couldn't move, and this leads to an early death of these animals. Normally baboons can stay for 30 years, but the mortality rate was very high. We have many young animals buried after the first or second year of their life.
At Saqqara, the catacombs containing the remains of the mothers of the Apis bulls have also revealed evidence of how the ancient Egyptians cared for their animals.
When I went in, what I saw were bones in the chambers, but the bones were just scattered. They really didn't resemble anything like a sacred burial.
What she found was to reinforce the view that the ancient Egyptians paid great attention to certain animals. Jawbones from cows show they had been kept alive long after they had lost their teeth.
I've got a few examples where you can see the disease in the bone. There's bone growth and bone resorption, but the bone growth suggests that there were no teeth in the sockets when the bone growth took place. And I've got an example where sockets are completely covered with bone, so there was no place that the tooth could be. These cows would have had a very difficult time eating on their own, and they probably would have had to been hand-fed, and they probably would have been fed some sort of porridge or gruel.
She stumbled on further manifestations of the level of care. Even the teeth of young cows had been bandaged, one by one. Were these special cases? Or did all the many millions of consecrated animals receive such attention? Barbara Golub-Kirby believes she has found further proof of their care.
One most interesting and informative bone came from the Falcon Galleries, and it was actually an ibis bone that was broken and healed in such a way that it was probably splinted and certainly looked after to keep it alive.
They may have been looked after in life, but how did they die? Human and animal remains specialist Joyce Filer has begun to unearth indications of how sacred animals met their end.
This is a cat mummy. We actually have many hundreds of these cat mummies in most museums in the world, and we have quite a lot here at the British Museum. This cat here, the neck area around here, has been deliberately broken, actually strangled. This may be one of the cats that was perhaps chosen by somebody in Egypt, deliberately strangled, mummified, and then perhaps dedicated to a temple, like a votive offering. There's very clearly something has happened to this cat. Premature death.
Due to the demand for offerings, premature death was frequent for two groups of consecrated cats.
You have a young adult cat, about 9 months to a year, and then you get a group of young, or sort of slightly mature kittens, about 3 to 4 months.
But not all causes of death can be identified.
Generally, when people want to kill snakes, they either separate the head from the rest of the body, or they smash it on the head. But the few snakes that we have examined thus far have completely intact heads. One or two of the snakes, it's quite clear that their bodies have been twisted up. Now, I don't know at this point if that's really the cause of death.
In some animals, the cause of death is obvious. Dispatching a Nile crocodile is no easy matter. Examinations suggest they had their heads chopped off.
There seems to have been a really large-scale industry, especially at the end of the first millennium BC, of breeding, slaughtering, and then mummifying animals, which the priests seem to have taken great pleasure in doing, and certainly they probably got a great deal of money or goods in kind out of this.
In The Mummy, millions of scarab beetles wreak havoc in the tomb of Imhotep. Do scarab beetles still exist? And if so, should you be scared? The answer when Mummified continues.
Buckle up. I forgot the tickets.
Access 1, remote keyless entry by Titan. Ever lock on the future.
On open decks and off romantic private balconies, there lives a beautiful princess. Day and night she tempts you with 24-hour dining, non-stop entertainment, and moments you will treasure. Freedom to do what you want, when you want. This is Grand Class Cruising, only from Princess. For your free Grand Class planning kit, call 1-800-PRINCESS.
It's time for E-Trade, the #1 place to invest online.
Circuit City's 50th anniversary sale is going on now. You'll get a free $50 gift card when you buy any 32-inch or larger TV, any camcorder $549 and up, and more. Like this Panasonic compact VHS camcorder with LCD screen and electronic image stabilization, now just $599.99. Or get a free $100 gift card with any camcorder $999 and up. Don't miss the savings at Circuit City's 50th anniversary sale, going on now.
Every
Every weeknight, you're going on the inside, and nobody takes you there like the Discovery Channel. Tomorrow,
people would just stand on 34th Street and gaze up at what was going on.
you know what makes it great.
This was the building that everybody wanted to go to the top.
Now find out about the people who built it and why it continues to captivate our imaginations. Reach for the top and go on the inside of the Empire State Building. Tomorrow at 8 Eastern and Pacific on the Discovery Channel. Explore your world.
Ex-Italian cafe commercial. Stay with me if you can, okay, babe? All right. I see dancing girls spinning around, huh? Cats jumping out, forget that one. How about disco lights? You know what? You people don't know what you want. I'm out of here.
This guy's got it all wrong. Zach's is about our fresh salads and our original pasta wraps. Great food, great prices, a delicious selection of chicken, seafood, and pasta dishes. Not to mention tasty subs, and of course we have pizza. Zach's Italian Cafe, LA's most charming hideaway.
The Nissan Maxima SE already comes equipped with everything you could possibly want. Now we're introducing the Maxima SE.
Insider's view of Texas. What to see, what to do, where to stay. Free when you call 1-800-8888-TEX extension 10. So give us a call, y'all. Texas, it's more than you think. It's like a whole other country.
Yes, scarab beetles do exist. As a matter of fact, there are over 30,000 species of them in existence today. Yet for all their numbers, this Egyptian symbol of rebirth is virtually harmless. Now, back to mummified.
2,500 years ago, the manufacture of votive pots and their contents became a big business, and a corrupt one.
There was a lot of money involved in sacred animals, and where there's a lot of money, corruption will nearly always come in round the corner. In the text known as the Archive of Hor, you got the results of an inquiry into the entire cult. Things are going wrong. And one of the things that's going wrong in the cult has to be put right. And they put it right with the slogan, "One God in one pot." Now, God here is a word for a mummy of a sacred bird, an ibis. And when we looked inside some of the pots from Saqqara, we found there was hardly anything in them. Maybe sand, maybe a stone, something that weighed enough, but that certainly wasn't the mummy of a sacred bird. People at the cult had been swindling pilgrims to the site, and this had come out, and this was one of the scandals that needed to be put right by the authorities. I think in the case of an empty pot, or something with sand in it, you can be fairly sure that they're swindling people. Sometimes what they did was to pick up a handful of old ibis bones and put them into a pot. There I think they're not necessarily swindling people. All of these bones belong to the world of the gods. They're sacred in a way, and presumably the gods in the next world can always sort out which bone belonged to which ibis as part of a general resurrection. So they're simply tidying up bits that are left over from the rest of the cult.
They simply collected every piece of unholy animals they found at the feeding place and made a mummy out of them. This wasn't a fake, but this was a law. They had to do this, and they had to deify also these parts of holy animals.
To investigate whether or not it was a scam, Dr. Ikram has launched a major inquiry at Cairo Museum. She's probing into some very strange practices.
The ancient Egyptians, certainly from our modern perspective, were pretty peculiar in many respects, and I think that's part of their charm and fascination, because they did do some things that seemed so completely like things that we would be doing, and then they do something that's so totally bizarre from our perspective. You know, what were they thinking, building these huge galleries and putting all these mummified beasts in them? It's quite a puzzle.
The mummy detective sets out to unmask the animal imposters. Her weapons are industrial-strength X-rays.
نرمين أشوف في الكتالوج جنرال 29816
This is one of the usual suspects, listed as a baby crocodile.
خلاص let's just check to see if we've aligned this properly. Okay. Outside. انتخلي برا. I'll just adjust the milliampere and we're done. One of the nicest things about X-raying mummies is it's like a lucky dip. You've got this sort of blank package and then you get to find out what's inside of it. And we often have quite often have surprises. And often one of the things is the more beautifully wrapped a mummy, the less likely it is to have anything in it, because we have a marvelously wrapped falcon in a herringbone pattern, and it just contains a fragment of a leg bone of a bird. And we also have a very, very cute, again, beautifully wrapped crocodile, and the eyes are outlined very beautifully, and it actually contains a little bit of mud formed to shape a crocodile.
But this isn't a case of mistaken identity.
That's crocodile. It's a crocodile, but it's a very young crocodile. Look at it. Look at
Baby crocodile.
his legs and his arms.
Salima's colleague is Nasri Iskander.
The head is great. The rest of it is,
While X-raying royal mummies in 1968, he solved the case of the princess and the baby. Princess Makari had a tiny mummy at her feet, suggesting she'd died in childbirth. The X-ray image proved a surprise.
Look what we have found. A baboon. And not a baby. Not human. We don't know why they have put this there, but maybe this is a favorite or pet animal of the queen, or maybe the baby was very fragile, and then this is dissolved and finished in the process of mummification. Then they had to put something instead to present it to the king. Nobody knows, and I think nobody will.
No one will ever know if the baboon was a deliberate substitution. But there are real frauds.
This little object here, we have several of them, all very similar in these rather roughly made wooden coffins, and they all look like this, and they look as if they're dressed up as little humans, and some people have thought they might be human babies. However, it is not what it appears to be. What's inside, when I x-rayed it, is actually an ibis bird. And they've got this shape by making the ibis bird, the beak, actually down between its legs, so it's folded over, and then they've fashioned this little humanoid-looking mummy round the ibis bird. Here we have a very interesting example. As you can see, it gives the appearance of being a cat. There's an attempt to shape the muzzle here and some ears modelled in linen here. However, when I x-rayed it, I found in fact it's a human bone which has been snapped to form a sort of right angle, and the linen wrappings have been applied round it. So it's obviously an example of a fake. But whether it's actually an ancient fake or perhaps a more modern one in the 18th or 19th century, it's difficult to tell, because if you tested the wrappings, they probably would come out with an ancient date. So again, it's a good warning of don't believe exactly what you see.
Today's fakes can be made with yesterday's materials. Even genuine antiquities are not always what they seem. X-rays exposed this as a cat with more than one life. Bandages were carefully layered around the skull of an adult cat, and inside its body is a kitten. Why it was made this way is a secret that whoever made it took to their grave.
What strange file does Scotland Yard keep on a 3,000-year-old mummy? The answer when Mummified continues.
Buckle up. I forgot the tickets.
Access 1, remote keyless entry by Titan. Get a lock on the future.
He's here.
This man was buried alive.
His powers are growing.
Oh my God, it does exist.
This just keeps getting better and better.
The Mummy, rated PG-13. Now playing.
Enter for your chance to win an amazing kids' adventure in Maui.
It's the Discovery Kids Maui Adventure Sweepstakes.
Watch Discovery Kids Weekends Saturday and Sunday mornings. Then, write down 2 activities Zach and Sarah do in Maui and 1 creature they meet there. Send them on a piece of paper with everything you see here to Discovery Kids Maui Adventure Sweepstakes, PMI Station P.O. Box 3581, Southbury, Connecticut, 06488-3581. Entries must be received by May 24th, 1999.
2 kids and their families will win grand prize trips to Maui. Really?
7 days and 6 nights at the Ka'anapali Ali'i Resort, including airfare, $2,000 spending money, and 3 Maui adventure activities.
And now for the legal stuff.
And if you didn't get all that, don't sweat it. You can get it all at discoverykids.com.
Remember, watch Discovery Kids Weekends Saturday and Sunday mornings right here on the Discovery Channel.
Police forensic experts at Scotland Yard have proven that even a 3,000-year-old mummy has fingerprints, and they still keep the evidence in their records. Now, back to Mummified.
Some graves have yielded their secrets. The examination of consecrated creatures and other ancient relics has helped bring Saqqara, the burial place of millions of animal mummies, back to life. Now, archaeologists can paint a vivid picture of how it looked and what went on there.
You've got to imagine a row of temples on the edge of the escarpment of the desert, coming down in terraces to the floor of the valley below. The valley would have a lake in it, and there would be large farms, buildings devoted to the maintenance of the sacred animals, cows, baboons, whatever. You might find a place with 6,000 or 7,000 ibises in it, all of them being fed, all of them being looked after. There were buildings where the eggs were incubated, kept in the warmth in straw in order to hatch out more ibises so that pilgrims could continue to visit the site. Around them you'd have workshops where statues, bronze figurines would be made. You'd have other workshops where people would put the hieroglyphs on the bottom of a statue. If you were a pilgrim, you'd go along, you'd buy a statue of a god, and you'd then go and get your name put on it by a scribe. That was your record that you visited the site. There'd be hostels, there'd be places selling food and drink. There'd be people on street corners telling stories to while away the long afternoons before you went to visit the god. Bit by bit, an entire community, an entire village, an entire city grew up around the notion that a dead animal can tell you something about the future. In a way, what these particular places did was to look after people's peace of mind. They were the equivalent, if you like, of modern therapists or things like that. And they proliferated because they answered a need.
The need places like Saqqara fulfilled was the urge to determine national identity at a time of growing crisis. The great centers of animal worship represented something purely Egyptian.
Egypt in the late period is no longer entirely independent. It's filling up with people who come from other cultures. People from Persia, people from the Greek world, people from the Near East, people from Nubia. The Egyptians are thrown back on asking themselves, what is it to be an Egyptian? Are these people Egyptians? If they're Egyptians, how should they behave? And one of the answers is to go back to your roots, your beginning, and ask yourself, what is it about us Egyptians that makes us different from the rest of the world? And the answers they came up with are, we have gods who are animals, or gods with the heads of animals. Other people don't.
The core belief in animal gods and the creation of mummies defined the ancient Egyptians. It's left the modern world clues to the past. An unexpected bonus is that mummies may prove the source of solutions to scientific and medical mysteries confronting the world today. Some Egyptian mummies display traces of nicotine and cocaine from South America. If true, it means that the ancient Egyptians had contact with America 4,000 years before Columbus. Many experts greet the drug claim with skepticism.
There are two possibilities, either that these traces really were there, suggesting that these drugs were present in antiquity, or that it is some problem with the testing process which will give false results.
Just pick away at any of that tissue, because any of it, as I say, could be quite useful.
At the cutting edge of the debate, Dr. Rosalie David has begun to look to the animal mummies for a definitive answer. Animals aren't active smokers or cocaine users. If they test positive, the traces are likely to be modern contamination.
Yes. Right. Have we got the sample bottle handy?
Yep.
Yes, it's just below your...
Tissue samples may play a further, more important role in scientific investigations. Cells from mummies could establish the origins of killer diseases.
It could well be lung, this. In fact, it's blackish, and of course the lungs of cats would just contain the same amount of carbon that the ancient Egyptians.
Would that be from the domestic fires, I suppose?
Yeah, in the huts, presumably the cats. They were domestic, weren't they?
Yes.
Close relationships between humans and animals have led to the transmission of viruses between species.
Yes, yes.
Analysis shows that both cattle and the ancient Egyptians themselves suffered from tuberculosis. Could animal mummies one day pinpoint the crossover of this deadly disease into human beings?
But it'll be interesting to see those pieces, certainly. It'll be interesting to...
With ancient Egypt, you have human mummies, so you can trace disease back 5,000 years, but also you have this unique situation of animal mummies preserved for religious reasons, which gives an insight into the kinds of animals and the kinds of diseases that were around. So we can study the pattern and development of some diseases from that period.
The silent dead can pass on lessons for our own lives. DNA testing and even cloning may unlock yet more unexpected avenues of investigation. Science gives us glimpses of other worlds through the eyes of animal mummies. Those creatures of the gods that have crossed that final frontier from which no traveler returns.
Conjures up the pharaohs of ancient Egypt, entombed in shimmering splendor inside the Great Pyramids. But mummies are found in other places around the world. They can look very different from Egyptian mummies, yet they all reflect the same desire, to escape the horror of death and live forever.
The idea that people live forever, or can potentially live forever, as long as they have a corpse, seems to be very common. And I don't know if it's because of fear of death and just ceasing to be, or whether it is a delight in life and wanting to continue it because they're greedy for having it.
Today, scientists are finding ways to study mummies without damaging them. A tissue sample from deep within the body can shed new light on an ancient culture. And a new age of mummifying may be dawning, one that combines modern science with ancient ritual. Civilizations seem to be as obsessed with death as ancient Egypt. Tens of thousands labored to build tombs for the pharaohs. They constructed temples dedicated to the dead. They made coffins out of hundreds of pounds of gold. Their greatest work of literature, the Book of the Dead, to guide souls to eternal life. Everyone who could afford it, from the pharaoh to the common man, had themselves mummified. But in fact, the Egyptians were not focused on death.
The ancient Egyptians were focusing on life. They were having such a nice time that they wanted to continue it, to make it even better in the afterlife, because in their religion, or magic religion, they could have the potential of improving upon things.
The ancient Egyptians believed you could take it with you. All the earthly pleasures could be enjoyed in the afterlife. Food, drink, every kind of luxury. Even servants. But to enjoy these things, you needed to have your body.
The ancient Egyptians believed the soul needed a physical entity to go into to gain access to things like food and drink, or other offerings, or parties that were painted on the wall.
The idea of an afterlife may have sprung from what the Egyptians saw occurring naturally under the desert sun. Sand seemed to preserve the bodies buried in it forever.
When you put a person's body into the sand sucks up the moisture, leaving these natural mummies. Probably the ancient Egyptians, by accident, discovered these natural mummies and thought, way to go. This is how we're going to preserve ourselves for eternity.
As the religion grew more complex, elaborate tombs replaced burials in the desert sand. But the tombs were damp places, and the bodies would decay. So the Egyptians learned how to preserve bodies with chemicals. Eventually, making a mummy became a ritual that took a team of embalmers and priests 70 days. But the process was kept secret, and no complete account of it survives. To test our understanding of the process, scientists conducted an unusual experiment at the University of Maryland in 1994. Using ancient tools, they tried to mummify a human body, copying the techniques of Egyptian embalmers.
The embalmers would, first of all, take a sharp object, a chisel kind of thing, stick it up the left nostril, hammer it through, break the ethmoid bone, and then stick something else, a long sort of crochet hook, except much more flexible, kind of implement in through the nose, up through the broken ethmoid, and into the cranial cavity.
The embalmers would stir the brain into mush, then remove it through the nostrils.
After this, a small slit, a tiny little slit, would be made on the left-hand side of the body, and the left is always favored because that's the side of the heart, and the heart is a very important thing for the ancient Egyptians.
Like the Egyptians, the scientists left the heart in, but removed the other organs. Next, they packed the body with bags of incense, spices, and a type of salt called natron. In Egypt, natron is found naturally at the edge of a lake north of Cairo. This powerful drying agent was packed all around the body. The room was heated to 115 degrees to simulate the conditions of an ancient embalmer's tent. "35 days later, as prescribed by ancient texts, the natron was removed. The body had lost 80 pounds. Now the scientists could begin the bandaging.
Knife again, please.
And the bandaging would take 30 days because it was a very ritualized process with lots of prayers and spells being said. Because as you wrapped, you were actually weaving magic and protection around the body. So the wrapping was a very important ritual.
The bandages were inscribed with magic spells for protection. They were glued in place with liquid resin. Here, for the first time, we can see how a pharaoh may have looked just after he was mummified.
So after you were all wrapped up, a mask would be put over the head, the person would be put into a coffin, and then the burial could continue.
The coffin, with the mummy inside, would be taken to the entrance of the tomb. But before it could be laid to rest, one final ceremony had to take place. It was called opening of the mouth. The most important ceremony in the Egyptian religion. It would bring the dead back to life.
A priest would read the ritual spells, and that would allow the deceased to have all of the facilities that it had in life. It could speak, it could eat, it could drink, and it could walk. We wouldn't see it, but that didn't mean that it wasn't taking place, especially in another world.
Sometimes, a statue of the deceased would substitute for the coffin in the ceremony. David Silverman of the University of Pennsylvania Museum has spent years studying the ritual in the ancient texts.
When Ra'i Yin Tah, he loosens the bonds of Seth which restrain my mouth. My mouth is opened by Shu with that iron implement of his with which he opened the mouths of the gods.
The soul could now re-enter the body and enjoy all the pleasures of the afterlife for eternity.
Stay tuned later for an exclusive sneak preview of The Mummy as Mummified continues.
Mummified is sponsored in part by IBM, Lotus, the makers of